Self-control is about the only way that you're going to get what you really want out of life. So today let's talk about some self-discipline techniques, and let's get started right now. What is up, my winning friend? My name is Zach, and welcome back to another video. If this is your first time here and you want to reach your potential and crush your goals, you can start right now by hitting subscribe and tap the bell notifications. That way you don't miss anything. Self-discipline gives you the power to stick with that decision and to follow through with it until you achieve that goal. And it also gives you the ability to reject that instant gratification and that pleasure right now in favor of some greater gain that's going to take more time and effort to achieve. So let me share a story with you. When I was in prison, a lot of you know about my past and the transformation that I made. When I was in prison the first time for that 4-year stay, about 2 years into it, I went to the hole for tattoo violations, and I was down there for 2 months. And 2 weeks into this 2 months, the guards came and banged on my doors, and at the time I'm 21 years old. I was still a knucklehead. I wanted to fit in with everybody else, and in prison they were all bad boys or whatever you want to name it, and I wanted to be accepted by them. I wanted to fit into the cool crowd in prison. So when they came and knocked on my door in the cell when I was in the hole, the police, cuff up Mr. Babcock, you're going to go speak with the captain. And me, being in that rebellious stage that I was in, I jumped out of my bunk, said, "For what? I don't have nothing to say." And they say, "You got to go to the captain's office, cuff up." So I cuff up. They put handcuffs on me and shackles on my feet, and we walk to the captain's office. And I'm walking down the hall, and we get in there, and it's a dimly lit room. The captain's sitting there behind the desk in his white shirt and his badge, and I'm thinking, like, geez, somebody told on me, or they're trying to get me to tell on somebody out in the yard. And I just had this anger, and I had this rebellious feeling going for me. And the captain says, "Mr. Babcock, you know when you come back to the captain's office, it's nothing good, right?" I said, "I don't care, man. You know, I'm down here for 2 months. I already did 2 weeks. In a month and a half, I'm going back to the yard. You know, I don't have nothing to say." And he goes, "Mr. Babcock, over this weekend we received a phone call from your mother, and she informed us that your sister passed away from a heroin overdose." And I didn't know how to respond to that. You know, I just lost my sister, and it just, at first it was like a shock, and my vision just went blank, you know, just down to nothing. And I had this I don't know how to explain it, but this adrenaline running through me. I don't know what it was, and then all of a sudden just tears just started pouring out, and it's starting to sink in, and I'm in shock, and like, man, I just lost my sister, someone that, you know, my only sibling that I really, truly, deeply loved and cared about, and I haven't seen her in 2 years because I've been in prison, and she just passed away from a heroin overdose. So they gave me a 30-second phone call, 30 seconds to my mother, and I didn't know what to say to her. You know, she's just like, you know, bawling out, just crying her heart out. And I feel big enough to sit on a penny and swing my feet from it, because I couldn't be there with my mother mourning her only daughter's, the loss of her only daughter and her only son's in prison. You know, that was tough, man. I can't even put it in words really how that really felt. Hopefully I just got a portion of that across. So they put me back to my cell, and I told them I didn't want to go back in the cell with my cellie. I wanted a cell by myself, and I just wanted to be by myself. And for the next 3 days, I sat in my cell. You know, I'm in the hole, which the hole is the prison inside of a prison. So I'm just in this little 8x10 cell, dark, dirty down there, just miserable. And I'm crying my heart out. Won't even leave my bed to eat for 3 days straight, just sitting there, just praying to God, you know, mourning the loss of my sister. And on that 3rd day, I woke up. I was like, you know, I'm still here for a reason. I don't know what it is. I don't even know when I'm going home at the time, but I know I'm here for a reason, and I don't know what came to me at that point in that moment in time, but I knew that I had to push forward. So I got back into a cell with a cellie, and I developed a habit over that time. You know, there wasn't much to do in the hole. We were there 24/7 in just a cell. You know, we got 3 showers a week, and our food came to us in a chuck hole in the door 3 times a day. So after lunch came by every day, I would get up and I would clean my cell. And we had 2 bathing towels. I took one of them and ripped it up into a bunch of mini rags. And I took one of these rags and I would scrub my wall with it. Another one I would scrub the toilet with. Another rag I'd scrub my sink with. Then I'd get down on my knees and sweep the concrete floor with my bare hands and collect all these little dust bunnies and gather them into a little pile. Then I'd take some toilet paper, wad it up, get it a little damp, press down on the dust bunnies, get up all the dirt, and then throw it in the toilet and flush it. Then after that I'd take my final rag, get it nice and soapy, wring it out on the concrete floor, and then I'd scrub my floor. And afterwards I felt good because I was living in a clean environment and I did something that day. And after that, after I felt good about living in the clean environment, I'd do my exercises. I'd get the natural endorphins running through my body. I'd do push-ups, dips off the back of the bunk, burpees, anything that you could think of that you could do in an 8x10 cell with body weight wise, I would do. And afterwards I'd feel great because I had those natural endorphins running through my body, did some physical exercise, I was living in a clean environment. You know, I did something that day. And then for the rest of the day I had other routines like when mail came and whatnot, but I'd read the Bible because there wasn't much of a book selection down there. We had a bunch of old Western books that don't interest me and some other books that I just didn't even care to read. It and put you straight to sleep. And then we had the Bible, and I found inspiration from reading the Bible. I was flooding myself with these scriptures, and it gave me a sense of hope, you know, in a very dark time. And towards the end of this day, I had a complete peace of mind in a very, very dark place. And it led to this self-discipline of every single day doing these small little things and making them habit that were actually contributed to my well-being instead of taken away from it. So let's talk about what it takes to build self-discipline, to build this self-control. It starts with desire. I mean, when I go back and look at that situation, I had a desire to not sit there and feel horrible about my situations. I didn't want to sit there and think about my sister constantly, of not being able to be there, and the thought of losing her, even though that's all the thoughts that were swarming my mind at the time. So I had to have that desire to want more. You know, I didn't necessarily want to get up and clean my cell every day, but I wanted to live in a clean environment and I wanted to feel good. That was the end result that I wanted. So it starts with that desire. You got to have a desire for the feeling, for the outcome, for the end result that you get from it. You got to have a desire for that. You don't have to have a desire to do the disciplining part, the stuff, the tough part of it, but you got to have a burning hot desire for the result. Then it's really helpful to have an unwavering commitment. But most people, that takes discipline itself, and most people suck at that. So you're probably going to want to have someone to help you, hold you accountable, or hold yourself accountable. For instance, lately I got out of shape physically out of shape, the worst I've ever been in my life. Weighed in at 216 pounds a couple weeks ago. And that was it. I was like, man, you know what? Because I've been trying to stick to a healthy diet, and I've been exercising 4 to 6 times a week faithfully, but it was my diet where I was falling short. And finally I was like, you know, I'm trying all this different stuff, but it's just not working right now. You know, it's probably best that I actually hire a personal trainer. And that's what me and my wife did. We hired a personal trainer, our friend Bart, and since then, you know, I've been able to stick to my diet because I have him, for one, holding me accountable, giving me a plan to stick by, checking in with me constantly, coming over and training with us. But also I made that financial commitment, which also even gives it more of a reason to stick with it. So it's really helped in the sense that, you know, now me and my wife are feeling great because we're more energetic, we're sticking to our diet, we're able to play with our kids longer when they come home from daycare instead of feeling worn out. We're able to get more things done in our business. We're able to work together more effectively. We're bonding more together. It just helped out all the way around the board, all the transformation that we're getting from that, from having someone else hold us accountable so we can stick to the self-discipline to be healthy. A few other tips that really help with self-discipline is to identify obstacles and things that might get in your way so that you can prepare for them and know that they're coming. Another thing is that you're going to want to replace these bad habits with a good habit. It's like nearly impossible to just quit doing something unless you to break a habit, you got to replace it with one. It's like nearly impossible not to. So find, like, you know, if you're wanting to stop playing video games all day long, replace it with reading for an hour or two, and then fill in the gaps with other things, stuff that's going to add value to your life instead of taking it away. And last but not least is remove any temptations that are going to get you to go back to what you didn't want to do, especially in the beginning. Remove the temptation. So a good example with me is when we got into this weight loss, you know, journey, not weight loss, but just getting back in shape. I had a problem with food. I like to eat. I like pizza. I like snacks, you know, you name it. I like good food. And having that in my face was really, really hard for me in the beginning. You know, and I would tell my wife, you know, quit buying these snack food. And she's like, well, we're getting it for the kids, you know, and I get that, you know, get the kids some snack food. But it was hard for me seeing it in the pantry, not grabbing it and eating it. But when we stopped getting it, in the beginning, we're able to do it now, but in the beginning when we stopped and removed it, I didn't have that as a distraction, you know, and I already had the meals prepared and everything going for me. And then after a week or so being into this, 2 weeks into it now, it's not a factor for me, but in the beginning it was huge. So remove those temptations, and that will help out so much, especially in the beginning. If this video helped you with self-control, self-discipline in any way, shape, or form, and you want to learn more about self-discipline and self-control, check out that playlist right there. Share this video on Facebook, and if you know anybody that's struggling with self-discipline and that this video may help them, share it with them as well. And if you want to reach your potential and crush your goals, start right now by hitting the round subscribe icon and tap the bell notifications. That way you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching, my winning friend. I'll see you next time.